Oh, and there is our lovely background audio, and we are off. A sword in Sanctuary, wonderful way to start things off. Alucard checking out Link's house, finding a mushroom.
One very useful item, one very trolly item.
Yes, that mushroom could end up being essential, or it can end up being a waste of time.
We got people running all different directions already. This is nice diversity right from the start.
Yep, so looks like we have Duke and PHatHome going and hitting up the Houlihan room, looking to get some early cash. Invictus going and hitting the Poultry, going to go make a sweep through the Lost Woods.
Very good tree pull there, the 20 rupees, that helps out a lot. One of the better tree pulls, I guess, besides bombs, as Alucard finds the piece of heart next to the uncle.
And Invictus finds a red rupee at the Lumberjack Ledge. That's good news. That's one fewer chance that Aghanim will be required.
Aga not required just yet.
Of course, until our runners are in the Dark World and moving about the cabin freely, we never know.
And we will very, very likely be making at least a brief foray into Aghanim's place of business at some point today.
Yep, Aghanim's Tower is somewhere that you usually don't head if you're doing an open seed, rather. Because the chests there always just have keys for that tower. Here, you never know. What we do know is that Invictus has found the book in Lost Woods.
Book is a nice item to get out of the way early. If you find that late, it is liable to lead you on a wild goose chase.
Yep, book is also helpful in determining if this is a pedestal required seed. That is a little bit of information that runners will want to know early so that they can plan around that or plan to route that in.
Single rupee for Invictus at the back of the bar. It looked like the tier 2 tree pull was single bombs, so very useful tree pulls in this seed.
But you can always do what Invictus did and just buy some yourself.
Always an option. When the first tier is rupees, gives you a lot of bombs available.
Yep, and Duke finding our first key for Pod. That is one of the dungeons that can be more annoying when it comes to Keysanity, simply for the volume of keys that it has.
We have PHatHome doing the escape here. This is nice to get out of the way early when you have that early sword. And we'll see if at the end of this, when he gets to Zelda's chest, if he death warps and tries the dark chest in the sewers.
Yeah, we're seeing Invictus go and head into the well and finding a mirror.
Great early item. Love that mirror early. Helps with the routing so much.
And an Ice Palace Big Key, one of the less required ones, but could still prove it essential.
Ice Palace Big Key immediately followed by the Hera Small Key. Two keys good to get out of the way before you go into those dungeons.
So far, PHatHome striking out a little bit with the rescue, but still one chest to go. Now you will see, as I mentioned, runners picking up the maps and the compasses for dungeons. We will get into that in a moment, after Duke plays us a little tune.
Super convenient flute location. So far, the seed's being pretty kind.
So yes, the maps and compasses for every dungeon are spread out around the world. The map will tell you what crystal or pendant is at that dungeon. It's on that boss. The compass helps you keep track of how many items in the dungeon you haven't picked up. Maps, far more helpful, help you decide what dungeon to approach and what ones to leave aside. The compass, not so much. And now Invictus has also released the Quacken.
It looks like PHatHome has decided instead of death warping, he's going to walk back through the escape. He may either be going for the dark chest. Yes, it looks like he's going for the dark chest.
Yep, these darkroom plays are occasionally pretty beneficial. They are considered sequence breaks by the game logic, but you never know, that could speed things up substantially for you.
Definitely much easier with the sword. You can see he's kind of holding it out so he can see the glow of it, which helps him keep track of where he is in that dark room. And this can, a lot of times, save a good amount of time. Even just checking this chest now means you don't have to come back and check it later, even if it isn't anything useful.
Well, Invictus found something useful. The dam is holding the level 2 sword, so Invictus is on Master.
That Master Sword opens up a chest or two in Aga Tower, if they'd like to get the second chest that's in the dark up there.
Now Invictus going to head on over to Mini Moldorm Cave. Going to be the first to do the Lake Hylia curve.
It sounds silly, but that Master Sword helps a lot with killing these Moldorms who can be a little trolly early in the game.
Absolutely, especially considering they're all only on 3 hearts. Well, PHatHome has found a 4th, but approaching some of these more trolly areas with only 3 hearts, and there's a little bit of risk. But Ether could be a good payoff. Tempered Sword absolutely is, and Mitts, and I do believe that was Silver's.
Those were the silver arrows, yeah, absolutely. That was one hype cave. This seed is just playing fast and loose with all these items.
Yeah, those silvers can be one of the more annoying items to find. They are only required at the very end, so they can't be anywhere in the world. But today they're in Mini Moldorm Cave.
Invictus does need to be careful as he walks up to Ice Rod Cave. Here he is in danger of being one-shot by these crabs who move rather unpredictably. You don't want to have to redo this walk later.
Yes, and DukeFireBird discovering that the pedestal dream, not tonight.
Maybe some other time. At least our hopes were dashed early this time.
Very true. Now, Alucard about to upgrade their sword. Now, despite all of this rather good equipment, what we're really looking for is where do the runners head next?
No visitors to Sarashalo or Eastern yet. They also could choose to go up the mountain and open a few chests there. With the Hera small key, they would have access to 3 chests in Tower of Hera.
Invictus selling off the mushroom, just getting a little bit of cash for it. Now we're about to see DukeFireBird and Alucard both being very pleased with their maneuvering. You can almost hear the runners as they're going chest by chest through Mini Moldorm, just getting more and more excited in their own voice.
Alucard with some, what's the opposite of frustration slashes? Happy slashes.
Now Alucard going to go hit up the Ice Rod Cave. It's a small jump using the flute for that. But little time saves can matter quite a lot at the end.
Looks like all of our runners are pretty much done doing what the others have done so far, and will be making their next routing decisions mostly simultaneously.
And PHatHome picking up the flute as well. Looks like Invictus is going to head into rescue. Alucard is going to be our first to go up Death Mountain and is going to rescue the old man from the darkness.
Pretty easy dark room, and makes a lot of sense. As soon as you can land up there, just go pick up that old man, see what he's got. Fat's just getting done with his clear of Kakariko since he did the escape early. He's now picking up all these items. He'll be heading to the South Shore immediately after that. And we've got Duke doing some fake flippers on his way to the hobo.
Yep, another small sequence break that could pay off nicely. Alucard just getting a piece of heart out of that break. And calling in the duck.
Decides not to climb the mountain the rest of the way there. He's going to check out desert first.
Yeah, but releasing old man from his dark lostness, let's go with, that does open up the mountain cave as a save quit point. So there is still value in having done that.
Yep, always the earlier you can do that, the better. You can get right back there with any save and quit. And I love the check of Agnes Cave here from Alucard. This is a great one to get out of the way early, just in case it has something, and you're probably going to end up checking it later anyway. And now
Lots
he's
of money.
rich.
Yep, he can give up this randomizer lifestyle and retire to the beach.
That's one of the big themes with Keysanity, is even when you check places and don't find anything, as long as you're routing efficiently, these are places you're probably going to have to check at some point regardless.
Yeah, we've now got 3 of our 4 runners all around Hyrule Castle all at the same time. PHatHome headed down to the lake.
So Fat's pretty close to catching up in all those items he hasn't grabbed yet. Invictus did the escape, but did not mirror to do the dark chest, so he's going to leave that for now. Not a big deal since we know it's nothing, but he's going to have to remember to check it later anyway. And
Yep,
Duke is going to jump into Aga Tower here to pick up that first chest and maybe try his... well, no, he doesn't have a key yet, so he's just going to pick up this first chest while he's in the area. And it is only 20 rupees.
Meanwhile, Invictus checking the escape basement and striking out there as well.
It's kind of interesting. We've got a lot of items early, but still 2 full items away from Dark World access.
Yep, this is why we say, even if there's nothing necessary on that lumberjack ledge, that doesn't mean Aghanim is ruled out. So now Invictus doing the Dark Cave in Death Mountain, picking up the old man. PHatHome about to hit the payload.
Yeah, definitely never get tired of seeing all these items right in a row here.
And I believe that actually gets all of our runners tied up when it comes to progression items.
Invictus will be the first one to scale the rest of Death Mountain here. We can check the inside of Spectacle Rock, the top of Spectacle Rock, the Ether Tablet, and 3 items in Tower of Hera.
Yep, the right side, though, still locked behind either Hookshot or Hammer, and that opens up quite a lot if they have access.
And that was the Ice Rod on top of Spectacle Rock. Good to get that one out of the way early. They'll be picking that up in a second with the mirror. But first he's going to grab the item in Spectacle Rock.
It's a small key, and you never know what one it'll be.
In the mode called Keysanity, you'd be pretty insane to leave a key behind. Oh, and it is the Aga Tower key.
Ooh, so things could be getting curious.
We are now 2 items away from Dark World access, or 2 items away from Aghanim.
Yep, and it is worth noting that while you do need Moon Pearl to do just about anything in Dark World, you don't need Moon Pearl to go from the Aghanim fight to the Pyramid Ledge. So guess where Moon Pearl could very well be?
One of the trolliest spots for it, right on that pyramid. Very hard to make a play on Aghanim until it is the last possible spot if you do not have the Moon Pearl.
And Invictus off to check the tablet.
Just a big 20 on the tablet. Well, you get that early book, you kind of hope. Early book and early sword upgrades. You're thinking, oh, that tablet's got to have something.
It looks like we have a vanilla green pendant. Already we're starting to see these routes diverge just a little bit. Duke and PHatHome headed up towards Eastern. Invictus over at Tower of Hera, and it looks like Alucard is right behind him.
So Invictus picks up that small key for thieves. With no fire source, they actually cannot get the item out of the basement, even though they have the key there, so he's going to have to leave. And it looks like this progression we're missing is going to end up in Eastern, or maybe inside Desert. Not access to too many Desert Palace chests at the moment. Really only can get the one item and check the item on the torch while you're in there. But that's where Invictus is headed, as DukeFireBird finds a map in the first chest in Eastern.
So we're about to see a little mini race. Is it Desert or is it Eastern? Or is it somewhere that none of us have thought of? It's Desert. Invictus finding the hammer.
Gets the hammer, which still actually does not give him Dark World access, but gives him a very useful item. He does save and quit before checking the item up on the torch. Probably won't matter, but always nice to know whether that item is something you need to rush back there once you find the boots or not. So it sure seems like we're going to find the Moon Pearl here in Eastern, unless the Seed wants our runners to grind some rupees to pay the big fish.
Indeed, but with Invictus finding the hammer, could be somewhere on the right side of Death Mountain, as he does now have access to that.
Absolutely, that's a lot of chests out there. PHatHome picked up the big key for Misery Mire there. Don't know if I saw that when Duke picked it up. Always nice to get those big keys that are required to beat dungeons. as early as possible helps your later game routing so much.
Yep. Now, of course, we don't know if that is a required dungeon or not. We haven't been to the Dark World to check its map. But if it is, that's a good thing to get early. You never know when Vitreous will be holding on close to something that we need to finish the run.
Yeah, he's kind of a jerk, so usually he is holding something.
Ooh, looks like Eastern is not gonna pay out beyond that big key. And DukeFireBird making his way on out.
Everybody pretty much still on the same footings, because even though he found that hammer, Invictus did do the Eastern follow-up as opposed to the East Death Mountain follow-up, so he's going to be finishing this place up a little bit behind PHatHome and DukeFireBird, and they will likely make the Desert Palace check their next stop.
This is when you start to get an interesting choices of routing and a good demonstration of them. We have a seed that so far is relatively linear, and it's the little divergences that each of them are taking.
Definitely plenty of choices in the early game routing, but when the seed's not going to give you Dark World access, there's only so much you can do. That's why we're getting all this overlap now.
And PHatHome heading off to Desert, so looks like they'll be the next one to pick up the hammer.
Yeah, unfortunately for Duke, he's making his way up the mountain without the hammer. He's going to check those 2 items in Hera and then realize he still can't go anywhere else.
Yeah, this opens up an interesting point. Duke is making a smart play here, going to an area where there's a good number of items to check on. Spectacle Rock, the items in Hera. Desert only really gets you 1, but it's the one you needed. So sometimes going for the higher density doesn't end up paying off.
Yeah, and it's tough to trust that book. Like I said, you can get led on some wild goose chases, thinking that that's the one that's going to lead you down the right path. In this case, it would have been. And we've almost got each of our runners with the hammer now. PHatHome is headed to the right side after picking his up. I think he's going to route in a check of Agonist Cave. And then decides against it at the last second.
We did see that Swamp is a red crystal.
And it looked like Mire was a crystal as well.
So it looks like Invictus is going and visiting Agana, as PHatHome is doing right now. They're probably feeling out of locations to check.
Yeah, at this point, without East Death Mountain, the only place they haven't checked is Zora. So you gotta imagine that's gonna be both of their... Death Mountain is gonna probably be both of their next locations to check.
Yep, Invictus safe quitting onto the mountain. PHatHome going to escape basement. We hadn't noticed that he hadn't made that move yet. Gonna be a little disappointed in it, but have to check.
Yeah, Fat just feeling a little far behind with that backwards walk through the escape, I think, has put him just a minute and a half or so behind the rest of the runners. He's cleaning up some of those last locations, and then he'll pretty much be on equal footing with everybody.
Yep, he might be feeling behind, but remember, he has the hammer. Duke doesn't yet.
Duke will have it shortly, and then I think everybody will pretty much be on the trail Invictus is. Headed to the east side of the mountain.
Yep, and a reminder to our viewers that this is 2 races going on simultaneously. So DukeFireBird is up against PHatHome, while Invictus is up against Alucard. So if Invictus and Alucard finish first and second respectively, the top race is still anyone's game.
Invictus finishing up that slow walk through Spiral Cave, and let's see what he's rewarded with. Just a bomb upgrade. Still got 7 more chests here on East F Mountain.
Yep, that Paradox Cave is rather dense.
Pretty excellent chance of finding our progression there, too.
Though we do know that there's no progression on the floating island, Alucard just showing us that that was a compass. That looks like progression. Invictus finding the lantern.
There's the lantern. That will, at the moment, actually only gives us access to Hera Basement, but that counts as progression all the same.
It does mean we won't be seeing any more dark rooms on this run. Ooh, and that's all the progression in Paradox.
Nothing at all in Paradox Cave. It's pretty much the anti mini Moldorm Cave. Should have spread those items out a little bit better.
Yeah, Mini Moldorm's being a little greedy, forcing Invictus to go back to Hera and handle the basement.
Yeah, at this point, I think we're really just down to Hera Basement and Zora for either Moon Pearl or an Aga Tower key? Or flippers or something like that, I guess. Very good of Invictus to not forget the Hera Basement, though. That's an easy one to forget while you're all the way on the other side of the mountain.
It's an easy one to also want to avoid just because that tile room takes forever.
Yeah, pretty much feeling forced into it at this point with so few places left to check for progression. Definitely not anybody's first choice.
Invictus not even using it for a coffee break. It is a little late in the day for a cappuccino, but
he's just working on his target practice with the boomerang. Alucard's going to be the next one to head into Hera as he catches up to Invictus's small lead at this point.
yeah, I think they're both hoping that the next progression item is in here. And it's Blue Tunic.
It's not in the Hera Basement. Wow.
Ooh.
So all those items we got early, that was really just false hope, because they're going to be fully clearing this area of the game before ever being able to touch the Dark World. You
It
see
looks like Invictus.
DukeFireBird is saving quitting, so he's not going to be doing the Hera basement.
That might end up being the smart play.
Definitely helps him catch up a little bit now. He looks like he's going to make the play on the second chest in Aga Tower.
Meanwhile, Invictus looks a little uncertain where to head. Might be thinking Zora and just trying to think of anything but Zora.
It's definitely an uneasy feeling when you feel like you've pretty much checked everything. Did I miss a chest this early already? Not a fun feeling. Duke's actually going to grab the chest in the dark, which I guess he did not grab as part of his escape.
It looks like Invictus is doing the same.
This is the small downside of not doing that chest in the dark. Even when it has nothing, you're probably going to have to walk all the way back at some point to grab it. Alucard is following right behind the two of them, so they're all going to get their disappointing 3 bombs.
Although if you were going to go visit Aghanim's tower, it makes sense to do this first and then mirror out and start your climb.
Oh, definitely the mirror helps out. Even before you get in the Dark World, the mirror helps out routing immensely. In this mode especially. Duke has already checked the first chest in Aga Tower, so he's just got that second one, but there really aren't any other options besides Zora for him at this point.
Yep. Hashtag anything but Zora.
All of our runners with a ton of money, so getting the Zora item will not be a problem if that ends up being our progression.
But no, it's Aghanim's tower. DukeFireBird finds the Moon Pearl.
The Moon Pearl in Aga Tower. So it wasn't the pyramid, but it was almost the pyramid.
Yes, that alone opens up Dark World basically in its entirety. We don't have Dark Death Mountain, but besides that, Hammer, level 1 gloves, Moon Pearl, it's all a go.
Plenty of places to check now, and looks like Duke, by virtue of skipping the Hera basement check, is the first one to really enter the Dark World officially.
I mean, they all did spend time as a rabbit, just for a moment, but now it's when it really counts. Well, except PHatHome, who's... I actually didn't notice what the Mega Man Dark World sprite was.
I think PHatHome does not realize he's not going to be able to progress past here.
And Hype Cave is hype. Cane of Samaria and Butter Sword.
We got those first 3 swords in 7 minutes, and it only took about 20 more to pick up the Butter Sword, so we're going to be seeing some fast boss fights in this seed.
Yep. Butter Sword, not very many hearts, very offense-heavy seed. I think our runners will be just fine with that, though.
Everyone in blue mail except for DukeFireBird, who did not get the blue mail in her basement, so we'll see if we get another mail upgrade shortly. Otherwise, not a lot of hearts, and Dark World access doesn't always play very nicely together. PHatHome is on his way up to Zora, it looks like, while Alucard's going to check the pyramid. Duke and Invictus both doing that southwest Dark World route from Hype Cave. And we see a fairy in a bottle on the Zora ledge, so not much chance our runners are going to be coming back with the flippers to pick that up.
Nope, it is the first bottle we've seen. but we will see 3 more, or at least there are 3 more to be seen.
And the small key to Swamp at the dig game. Very nice to get that out of the way. Even the Swamp is a crystal, actually. Of course, Swamp is the 5/6 crystal, in fact. So very important to pick that up.
Yep, at this point all they need is Hookshot, and that's the dungeon sorted. Swamp being one of those where the big key is not required in order to complete the dungeon. And Duke, it looks like, is going for an interesting little glitch. If I'm watching his route correctly, yes, he's going to go talk to Batman before his time.
Duke is lucky he hasn't turned in that mushroom yet. I think the other 3 runners all did flute to turn in that mushroom. He's going to put the mushroom to a little bit better use by converting it into some powder.
Yep, if you are out of magic, there is a trick you can do with the Cane of Samaria and the mushroom to trick the game into thinking it's magic powder. In this case, it gets you a pod key.
Pod key could be very important to have 1 extra pod key before everybody else does. While Duke was picking that up, Alucard picked up our actual first bottle of the game at the Catfish. Had some red goo. Catfish, another one of those things, very nice to get out of the way, and even nicer to do it the way Alucard's doing it. Routing it in with something else makes that Catfish check a lot less painful.
It looks like Invictus is making his way over to Skull Woods. Skull Woods being the other dungeon that does not require the big key in order to complete it. Although you could say the same of Ice Palace if you have that bomb jump nailed down.
PHatHome just a couple seconds away from picking up his Moon Pearl, getting into the Dark World to join everybody else.
And Invictus finds the boots.
There are those boots. Always nice to cut through the front part of Skull Woods, just in case there's an item like that sitting there for you.
Yep, so Invictus is going to be making quick work of covering ground. It looks like DukeFireBird is about to be in the same situation. Meanwhile, Alucard taking out the Bombos tablet.
All our runners doing a very good job getting some of these out-of-the-way overworld locations out of their way. Small key to Misery Mire. Sadly, not really very required.
Nope, Mire gives you an abundance of keys, so pretty quickly, you don't find yourself needing them anymore.
I don't believe any of our runners checked what was on the torch in Desert when they all were in there picking up their hammer. I wonder if that could play a part. If that's an item like the Titan's Mitts. Oh, Invictus finding the hookshot in the back of Skull Woods too. Skull Woods with a lot of value here.
Yeah, we know it's not the hookshot in Desert, but yes, it could be Fire Rod, could be any number of important items. But I don't think Invictus is going to be too worried about that. Having boots and hookshot, that's a lot of mobility, that's a lot of locations opened up. I was seeing in chat that Desert Torch was checked and it was a compass, so thank you for that.
Compass on a Desert Torch. So good job for our runners who didn't check that. They saved a little bit of time. With that early Swamp Key, we are just flippers away from being able to clear out Swamp.
Yeah, the big question is, what will be the first dungeon that they clear all the way through?
Invictus picking up a pod key from the Bonk Rocks, as he's probably going to route his way over to the Graveyard Ledge in King's Tomb.
Gotta love that dig game music.
Only 5 digs required this time, too. Not so bad.
On a shield at Graveyard Ledge, Invictus not even gonna bother.
Invictus not picking up the tiny shield. That's some disrespect.
All that shield wants to do is protect you and keep you safe.
Alucard with his bottle from Catfish checks Sick Kid, but only gets a 5-hour upgrade for his trouble. And just a single rupee in King's Tomb.
Yep, and DukeFireBird about to make the same discoveries while PHatHome heads up to grab the hook shot. All of these choices on locations to hit, very sensible, very reasonable routes. A lot of them just aren't quite paying off at the moment.
Yeah, while it is nice finding that hook shot, it actually doesn't unlock any other chests for the moment. They're going to need access to Swamp or the Titan's Mitts for that to happen.
Invictus checking out that little hut, finding an Ice Palace small key.
Ice Palace small key not required, but very helpful in routing it quickly when you're actually in there.
Seems to be saving Thieves Town for just a moment. Finding a nice bit of arrows near the chess game.
No big key for Thieves Town, so we're just going to be able to pull the first 4 items out of here, but a lot of value in these first 4 items a lot of times.
Blue cane, good value. Not essential, but can be very helpful in a tricky situation.
Does open up Spike Cave with that blue cane.
That as well. And I think we can call that a vanilla map, finding the Thieves Town map in Thieves Town. Don't think that's the vanilla location, but...
French vanilla at the worst.
And the red mail for Invictus. So that's full sword and full mail. And Quake. Because why not?
Not much difference really between the blue and the red mail. It's going to be very nice for Duke to get that, though, since he has not got his blue mail yet. Green to blue, much bigger upgrade than going blue to red.
Now we haven't seen what Mire or Turtle Rock require, largely because we can't hit those areas quite yet without the Titan's Mitts. So we don't know if that medallion was a great find or a red herring. Not sure where Invictus is heading right now. Might be going towards Swamp, but he doesn't have the flippers. No, going to Bombo's tablet instead.
Check Bombo's tablet off his list. Which, other than some of the rest of the East Dark World, I don't think there's too much available to him.
Kind of feels right now like we're just waiting for the right pieces to start coming together. We haven't seen a lot of big keys yet. Looks like Invictus is going to make his way into Pod. We have seen plenty of small keys for Pod. Or not.
Tough to make that pod gamble when there's a few other things left. A lot of times you don't want to waste the keys or the time. I think he's going to just check the pyramid first.
There are two right side runners not giving up the opportunity for a shield, as Alucard picks it up. And Duke making that pyramid check as well, as PHatHome finishes up the Thieves' Town sweep.
Invictus gonna go get his bottle and maybe mirror immediately and check Sick Kid too. And that might leave him with just Pod as an option. And Spike Cave, I guess, is also, as we said, in play. But I don't know if you want to really climb the mountain just for Spike Cave.
Unfortunately, this is Randomizer, this is Keysanity. They may have to.
They may have to indeed. If it's anything like the Moon Pearl location, it'll be the last place they check.
It's always in the last place you look. PHatHome finally on the south side of the village. Going to check out Cave 45. Not much to write home about. Gonna be the same story with Stumpy.
You've just got everybody retracing everyone else's steps because nobody's been able to find anything beyond the items that were sitting up front in Skull Woods. At least with the boots, it's not as painful to do all of this overworld running around.
Absolutely. Boots and flute and mirror, they have maybe the most essential of the fast travel items.
Yeah, it's going to hurt their menu times, but it's going to improve their overall times. PHatHome picks up his Cane of Samara and his Butter Sword, putting him on the same level as everyone else. Looks like Invictus is going to be the first to make the pod play.
Yep, and with 3 keys, you can get a good distance in, but without bow, you're doing that by opening the front door, and that's something that Keysanity racers prefer not to do whenever possible.
Here's a result of what I was talking about before. Alucard's going back into Desert to check that torch item, so this is an entire trip back into Desert that's going to just be to see it's a compass.
But first, Bombo's tablet. Ooh, Duke, finding the Hera Big Key, thanks to a visit to the Waterfall Fairy.
At this point, when you don't have many places left in logic, sequence breaking can give you some valuable things like that. And even better for him, he was the one that skipped the Hera basement. So he'll be able to do that, if he was going to worry about it, when he does the rest of Hera.
Yep, and by doing that Batman glitch, he is also sequence broken for a pod key. So he actually has a small advantage there as well.
We'll get a good idea from Invictus what it's going to be pulled out of pod.
Ooh, Alucard hit the little soft lock that you get when you fake flipper and then convert that to walking on water. If you take damage, the game gets confused. And you basically just have to save quit and start all over.
And one of the unfortunate dangers of trying to sequence break your way to something like the Hera Big Key.
It looks like Invictus is setting up for the hammer jump.
I think he just wanted to get past that Helmosaur for now and accidentally stepped off the edge. He's going to check the back of this and then probably wrap around, and if he is comfortable with the hammer jump, he'll try that. But I'm thinking there has to be something before that point that's going to progress us. Let's see if it's down here.
Not going to be the Turtle Rock small key, but it is going to be the level 2 mitts.
The Titan's mitts in pod. That item opens up a ton for our runners, so it'll be nice when they all pick that up. Invictus is actually just going to use the key there, not going to hammer jump. Going to pick up these 2 items in here that he can get, mirror out, and then go check some mitt locations.
Yep, that is a reasonable move to make. That hammer jump is probably the trickiest bomb jump in the entire game.
And there's the big key for pod in the big chest of Hera. Alucard picks that up. So that sequence break might actually save a lot, finding that big key of Hera locked behind the flippers.
DukeFireBird taking a little bit of a coffee break down in the Hera basement, while Alucard's up top fighting Trolldorm. Although with Buttersword, easy to troll him back.
Can't be too trolly when you die in 2 hits.
And that's our first crystal of the match. 52-50, finding it in Hera.
It's funny, for all the items we got early, this has not been too fast since then. Good for Alucard. First one on the board.
And Invictus off to Super Bunny, while Alucard checks out Spike Cave.
Yeah, great routing by Alucard here. Not a place you want to leave behind by itself. Again, even if this is nothing, good to get it out of the way when you're here checking other things.
Well, you can't say a piece of heart is nothing, but it's not quite the something he wanted.
It's as close to nothing as you're going to get. DukeFireBird about to pick up his big key to pod. Plays Ring Around the Rosie to get away from knocking himself off the edge. And he's going to go up to kill Trolldorm.
And Invictus has found the flips, along with Bombos. So Invictus is now more than ready to handle Swamp.
be interesting if Invictus takes a peek into Turtle Rock while he's up here. He can get inside with all 3 medallions. He does not have the fire rod, so he couldn't complete it unless the fire rod is in there. But he does have 2 small keys. Could open a couple chests, see what's in there.
Yep, and Ice Palace is also open to Invictus. So that's multiple crystals that are right in his grasp.
He gives the hard pass to Turtle Rock and looks like he's headed to Ice, or to do his flipper checks. Maybe both.
Nope, gonna prioritize Ice.
Not a bad play. You can go in Ice, you can get everything except for, well, they do have the big key for Ice. So you can full clear Ice and then do your flipper checks. Seems totally fine. PHatHome is right on his heels, headed into Ice himself, while Duke is going over to do his first dip into Pod, and he has the big key, so we may see 2 item locations that we didn't see from Invictus.
PHatHome, though, just realizing that doesn't have Bombos, doesn't have Fire Rod, can't really do anything with Ice.
Oh, he's got to go up the mountain to get both of those items, or to get the Bombos at least, and that's where he's headed now.
Yep, ducked out.
Thankfully not too much of a waste of time just swimming up there.
Yeah, ducked out a little too early to find the flippers. But just fake flipping for a while, not a problem. Yes, we have DukeFireBird and Alucard making their pod plays.
Remember, Duke has the extra pod key. Let's see if that gets him any advantage during this dip.
Well, Alucard is now out of keys, so if he wants to get over to that dark maze, gonna need to do the hammer jump.
Invictus setting himself up for the Ice Palace bomb jump, having a little issue with it. I always find it a little bit harder with the butter sword, since it's just a little kind of hard to tell the butter sword edge from the color of the ground.
Yep, but does manage to pull it together. Alucard grabbed the Titan's mitts and just said, "That's it, Pod. That's it for now." Duke using his extra key to check the room, the spike room, I should say. Not much reward from doing that.
He's
But
going to
now-
spend his last key on the dark maze also, so no hammer jumping today from our runners so far. PHatHome gave a couple frustration pokes at that chest after he found his bombos. A little annoyed at his ordering, I guess. Duke's gonna open the big chest here in Pod. This is one that we have not seen, I believe, from anyone yet.
Nope, Alucard finding another pod key.
Just a big 20 for Duke.
Yes, we did see that desert is a pendant. That, along with Eastern. I don't believe we know where the third one is, though. Ah, Invictus finding powder over in Ice Palace.
Always a nice find. Nice safety item. He'll also be able to pick up an extra pod key with that. We have PHatHome making the dip into Turtle Rock. Duke is probably going to make the dip into Mire, so we'll be seeing a couple new dungeons here.
Ooh, the chain chomps. Messing with PHatHome.
Even with red mail, you've only got 8 hearts. Chain Chomps can cause some damage.
All that for the Ganon's Tower burrito.
Yeah, at least they know where Ganon is now.
Very true. And who wouldn't go for a little bit of barbacoa? Invictus hitting up the big chest over in ice before going down and probably going straight to Cold Stare.
Looks like Duke passed up. Okay, he still does not have a Bombos. He needs to get up Misery. He needs to get up on Death Mountain to get into Misery Mire with that Bombos tablet.
Yep, that Quake in Thieves Town did end up being a little bit of a false lead.
Invictus with Butter Sword here on Cold Stare, making very quick work.
Meanwhile, Duke is giving Jeremiah a tour. And
Boy,
giving
you
us a
really-
little hammer dash.
You really see how much the world opened up as soon as everybody got those mitts. They're all off doing separate things everywhere.
Yep, and Invictus getting his first crystal with Ice Palace. Still has not completed Tower of Hera, but I think we're about to see him get the key very soon.
Yeah, this route is going to work out for Invictus. We'll lead him back up the mountain. PHatHome hoping for a fairy here so he can do Spike Cave. He doesn't find one. Looks like he's going to give it a go anyway. I think he does have that red goo.
And it looks like the breadsmiths are just bombsmiths today. Since Duke has already routed much of south of village, just gonna take a quick ride and bring the chest to our curious man. He's rewarded with the Hyrule Castle map for his efforts.
Only the second most useless map.
But now we know where Hyrule Castle is.
There's been some really good routing by runners that are going largely unrewarded by this seed.
And Alucard choosing not to steal that small key.
Guess he figures without the big key at the moment, there's no place else he can go with it. And he's rewarded with a key to Skullwoods that he does not need. Invictus may be making the play into Swamp here. Pretty much the highest density area left to any of the runners at this point.
Yep, except for DukeFireBird, who has not yet grabbed the flippers, although those should be appearing in short order.
Won't be surprised if we see Swamp and then Misery Mire back-to-back from Invictus, those being the two Fat Fairy crystals. He could then check Fat Fairy.
Meanwhile, Alucard is checking out the Mimic Cave. He doesn't have the big key, so he can't do a full check of T-Rock. That's about as far as he'll get. And then off to the next destination. But it's always good to remember that you can do the Mimic Cave without the bow.
Looks like Alucard may be deciding Mire over Swamp Palace here. So we're going to see Invictus and Alucard making opposite decisions, having basically checked, I think, everything the other one has at this point.
Yeah, I believe so. Meanwhile, DukeFireBird heading up to T-Rock while PHatHome dips and dies. Another divergence. PHatHome stumbling a little bit with the bomb jump. Be tricky to position yourself just right.
Hard to get that edge buffer, yeah. Only a few more chances left for him before he's got no hearts left. Let's see if he can get it here. And he's got it.
There you go.
So this is going to be interesting to see which one of these is more lucrative, Mire or Swamp. You can definitely clear Mire a bit faster than you can full clear Swamp, but a few more chests in Swamp than there are in Mire.
Yeah, but so far neither of them has really been a high value play. Although that big key to Eastern might end up being useful. Again, that is the green pendant, and you never know what Sahasrahla has.
Yeah, probably not something they're going to put to much use till they get the bow, but definitely could be something that ends up required. And looks like Invictus is not going to mess around, tempt fate. He's going to do the left side.
Yep, it's a pretty slow section of the dungeon for just 2 chests, but if you're not in go mode, you don't know if you need them. That's a very common problem with Randomizer.
If you leave those chests, it's probably the last location you're going to come back to. So at this point in the seed, I think it's very hard to not check them. Duke looks like he's going to be joining PHatHome in ice momentarily. And with all the overworld exploration our runners had to do, we're pretty much just going to see dungeons from here on out. There are not many overworld locations left for them to even go check.
No, there are not. A lot of this will end up coming down to which dungeons do they choose to dip into and in what order. At this point, most of the maps have been discovered, so they may have enough information to decide where to go next.
Nothing on the left side for Invictus, but at least it's going to be a load off his mind that he didn't skip it. And Alucard finds the bow.
So Alucard making the better play.
However, he will need potentially to go get the item from Swamp to have the big key to Eastern to put that to maximum use.
Yep, for all we know, Sahasrara has the fire rod. Maybe the Armos Knights themselves have it. We won't know.
Alucard hookshotting over to that chest. Always a nice Keysanity strategy there.
And of course, even though left side of Swamp was a bust, there are still plenty of chests as you get into the basement. So still a chance for Swamp to pay off with some value.
And even if we get nothing out of Swamp, it is one of the Fat Fairy crystals. Takes you closer to those two chests that can be high value. We'll probably be seeing a check. Oh, and there's a small key for Turtle Rock. That could be the last small key that Invictus needs. We know that, I think it was Alucard who opened that middle door in Turtle Rock. He's going to need 2 more.
Invictus about to make quick work of Argus, as Alucard is, well, on his way to making quick work of Vitreous. And then PHatHome making quick work of Cold Stare. With Buttersword, it's almost as if these bosses are not a big deal.
I sense a theme here, yeah. We'll make some quick work of Ganon at some point, too.
Yep, there's Cold Stare gone, there's Vitreous gone, and there's Argus gone.
Turns out when you give Buttersword by the 35-minute mark, these bosses die pretty quickly, huh? So Invictus and Alucard entered their respective dungeons at pretty much the same time, are exiting their respective dungeons at pretty much the same time, and are probably headed to the other dungeon at about the same time.
Yep, and their crystal counts even line up, 2 apiece. DukeFireBird and PHatHome, each at 1.
Alucard's gonna make me a liar, though, and head to Ice instead. I wonder if the fact that that Alucard does not have the big key for Swamp is playing at all in his decision here.
It could be. Again, big key for Swamp not required to finish the dungeon. So yes, this is likely going to come down to picking the right dungeons and hopefully finding the right one when you're in go mode so that you can cut out a lot of unnecessary rooms. And as far as items go, Alucard is just a fire rod away. But I still will need a number of keys to make everything come together. In fact, I don't believe we haven't seen the Ganon's Tower big key at all.
Yeah, we need the Ganon's Tower big key, the Turtle Rock big key, the Thieves big key. Well, actually, I don't think we've confirmed if Turtle Rock is a crystal or a pendant yet. There's still one potential pendant dungeon out there we don't know. So maybe not the Turtle Rock big key.
Yep, although either way, Fire Rod will be required.
The other thing these runners are going to start thinking, this close to go mode and no Ganon's Tower big key, that can be one of the trickiest situations in a Keysanity.
Yep, when you're doing a normal open randomizer seed, you do know that the big key will be in the Ganon's Tower basement. In Keysanity, you're really hoping it isn't.
I gotta be honest though, I would love to see that just to see the different ways that our runners approach it. They could be in fake go mode and decide to just start finishing dungeons so they can get up to Ganon's Tower and look for the big key, or they can decide to play it safe and full clear everything and hope that they run into the Ganon's Tower big key that way.
Now we have 3 out of 4 runners all in Mire at the same time. So we're pretty close to everybody having the bow.
It'll be interesting to see who puts that bow to immediate use. We know Alucard got the bow and immediately went to ice to finish that off. Of course, Invictus, the only one with the big key to Eastern, but the others could decide to make a play back to Palace of Darkness.
Yep, particularly DukeFireBird, who has the big key for Pod, may decide to give that a look. Now, Alucard, we notice going through ice, somewhat vanilla, but having the big key, having plenty of small keys, and having the King of Samaria, doesn't have to worry about the block puzzle or the bomb jump to get through efficiently.
Yeah, a little bit faster to route it like this when you have the Cane of Samaria and the big key already. All 3 of the runners in Mire have been in Mire for quite some time, and none of them have made it over to that bow chest yet. PHatHome about to pick up his bow, and Duke will be a little bit behind him.
Yeah, Mire can take a little bit of time, but fortunately for our runners, it will be worth it.
Well, if Phat takes a fall off of that bridge, that takes him a while to circle back around if he's going to pick up that big chest.
So now Alucard with the crystal lead on his race. We'll see where he decides to head to next.
Looks like a Swamp Palace play. Can't blame him. It's the most obvious location he's got to check right now.
Yep.
Now he's a little bit later in the seed. He could, with that bow in hand, decide, you know what, I'm not going to waste the time on left side swamp. Be interesting to see if he decides to make that gamble. We know it would pay off if he did. It's a tempting way to try and gain 3 minutes on your opponent, skipping that left side.
Yep, and of course our runners don't know where the others are as far as their seed goes, so any opportunity to save 3 minutes can be mighty tempting.
And in this seed especially, there have been a couple places that all of our runners have pretty much had as their last possible spot. That kind of routing, even when you didn't do anything necessarily wrong, can make you feel like you're probably behind.
now we see PHatHome and Invictus both in the basement. DukeFireBird Mirmo's behind.
Nothing more satisfying than fighting Vitreous with the silver arrows.
And nothing more frustrating than fighting Vitreous with the silver arrows and repeatedly whiffing your shots. Not that I'm speaking from experience or anything.
Well, maybe that's why PHatHome is doing it with the butter sword. Conserve those arrows. Though you see Invictus already finished with his fight, that's how much faster the arrows are. I think now he's realized that he has them.
Yeah, with how quickly we got silvers, wouldn't be surprised to see someone forget momentarily.
You had silvers the whole game, but you didn't have the bow until the last 3 minutes. Definitely easy to forget.
So we will see DukeFireBird slightly ahead in the crystal count once he finishes up his Vitreous fight.
Let's see if that big key makes Alucard brave enough to skip the left side here. Does not look like it. He's gonna be safe, play the left side. Can't blame him. Definitely can't blame him. You don't wanna lose the race by leaving this left side untouched.
Invictus moving towards pod, but I have a feeling that's going to turn into an Eastern check instead. Or not. Gonna dive in.
Looks like he's gonna go in. He's got the one key. He could opt to do the right side, pick up the 2 bow locked chests, and continue on to Helmosaur. We do not know still whether pod is a crystal or a pendant.
Unfortunately, he is not one who has found the pod big key, so...
Oh, that's right. That's
at the moment.
Just Duke and Alucard have the big key. That's right. So this is potentially a triple dip for Invictus into pod, if pod is actually required. Pod just seems like that danger zone in Keysanity. No matter what you do, you end up doing something wrong.
Well, he gets half magic for his troubles, so it certainly feels like he did something right.
Half magic is nice, but he was probably hoping to find that fire rod.
Or even better, the pod big key. Wrap things up right away.
That would have probably been the best outcome, you're right. He's gonna try his... No, he's not gonna go into Eastern here. That's surprising he was standing right there. Guess he didn't, he's got another area in mind for now. And it's not too hard to get back over there with the flute.
Think he's going to go visit Fat Fairy first. Does have Swamp and Mire.
Yeah, Fat Fairy unlocked this early, relatively, in terms of which crystal dungeons you finished up. Definitely want to get this done as soon as those dungeons are knocked out.
And PHatHome grabbing the Eastern big key.
He too playing it safe, doing the left side of Swamp. We've seen Duke make a couple gambles so far in this seed. Let's see if he does left side like everybody else.
Ooh, and the Fat Fairy gamble does pay off. Fire Rod is in the pyramid.
That is a welcome sight for sure. Especially after the failed dip back into pod. Gotta feel good to find the item that's gonna help you get a lot done now.
Yep, so the question for Invictus now is Skullwoods or Turtle Rock?
Looks like he's gonna go Skullwoods, finish that off, pick up those quick items. He does, be really nice to find the big key for T-Rock in here. That really puts the route out right in front of you. And unfortunately, we've got Duke almost flooding the key as he does left side. He remembered in time, he's not going to flood it. But no gambles on skipping left side today from any of our runners. Playing it safe.
Yeah, you have to feel, even, as I said, runners don't know where their opponents are. They're looking at the time, they're looking at their progression and thinking, probably in a safe position right now. Not quite the time to be making serious gambles. And Alucard's heading straight for the pyramid as well. About to be very pleased with that decision.
I'm sure he'll probably follow right in Invictus's footsteps, head over to Skullwoods.
Invictus finding the Skullwoods big key in Skullwoods. That's what happens if you pick up a key and you don't see a message. It is for that dungeon. So now he can go back to the big chest if he's so inclined.
Not the worst place to find that, since you are already in the neighborhood. The great thing about the seed that has been a little trolly and a little linear is it's kept all these runners close. There really have not been any decisions that could reasonably have been made to separate these runners too much. So everyone's pretty much right on each other's heels. This is going to be a good one to watch down the stretch.
Yep, and we did see confirmation that pod is a crystal. So we will be seeing folks going back to that.
So unfortunately for Invictus, that means a triple dip to pod, but he does seem to have maybe a slight edge right now. He still doesn't have Tower of Hera done like Alucard, but on getting the pendant from Skullwoods there.
So T-Rock is our final crystal. I have a feeling
need that big key.
Although I have a feeling Alucard is going to make the same dungeon clear that Invictus just did. So in terms of that race, may not matter too much.
Yeah, without the big key for Turtle Rock, too tempting to take that Fire Rod and go straight to Skullwoods. Really don't see not seeing a way for any of our runners to avoid that one. Which means we know exactly how many items we need left in this seed. We need the Ganon's Tower big key. We need that Thieves Town big key. And we need that Turtle Rock big key. And that will be go mode.
Indeed. Although Invictus and PHatHome also need to find the pod big key that Alucard and DukeFireBird have already located.
Invictus takes that Skullwoods big key and gets the single arrow for his trouble. We have PHatHome making the immediate play on Fat Fairy as well. We'll see if Duke is right behind him in that regard.
Looks like Invictus is going to make his way over to Turtle Rock. Or probably Hera.
Yeah, I would imagine he's probably stopping in Hera. Without that T-Rock big key, Be an awful gamble to do that first.
Very true.
Of course, we know it's not really gonna open up T-Rock going in Hera first, so the search for that big key is gonna take a little bit longer. And I believe Alucard did make an earlier dive into T-Rock, so that's all ground that he's covered already. That Invictus is now going to go cover and not get anything that progresses him further.
Yes, I seem to believe PHatHome made that dip as well, although I might be misremembering. And Alucard finally giving the pedestal a quick little peek. They've had that book very early, but not a lot of pedestal checking.
Feels like it's almost a requirement at this point in the game after you kill Mothula and you have the mirror. You got to check that pedestal just to make sure. Yeah, just to answer the question from chat, the pod big key is in the big chest of Hera, right where Invictus just found it.
Yes, that would explain why PHatHome has not found it. He has not completed Tower of Hera yet. Well, that could be... Go ahead.
It certainly looks like, unless I'm forgetting a location, we're going to find some progression in Eastern Palace or on the Green Pendant reward, because I don't think there's really too many places left for these runners to go.
Very true. We have the two big keys that we haven't located yet. You never know. This Hospital could be holding on to one of them.
Now, it is possible for something to be on Helmasaur himself. Duke is headed towards Pod. He may go straight down to Helmasaur after checking the right side. But if not Helmasaur, I think it's looking like Eastern Palace.
Although we could always dream that the Ganon's Tower big key is in Ganon's Tower.
Boy, Ganon's Tower, big key in Ganon's Tower. Now, if they have to clear everything else in the world before they go up there, then that's an easy decision. It certainly looks the way they're headed right now. They've cleared very much of this world, and if they have to dive into Eastern for more progression, then there's not going to be much left outside Ganon's Tower that they haven't checked by the time they have access.
Yes, now for those joining us a bit late and wondering just what is going on here, the Link to the Past Keysanity format takes every item in every chest all throughout Hyrule and shuffles them up. That includes all of the keys, all the big keys, maps, compasses, you name it. And our runners have to figure out on the fly where everything is and where they need to go next. And so far, all of our runners have been doing a very consistent job of doing just that.
We have Invictus on his third dip here into Pod, finally getting to go fight Helmasaur. We had Duke in Pod, chose not to go to the end and kill Helmasaur, however. I don't know if he knows if Pod is a crystal at this point or not. He did check the right side, but then mirrored out. And now actually appears to be going back, so...
Yeah, might have changed his mind about making his move.
He could also be headed to Eastern and just doing it in the Dark World first. That is one possibility as well.
Yeah, that allows you to take care of Eastern and then go directly to Pod without having to do this maze multiple times.
He may be afraid of burning that last small key on Helmasaur's door, so maybe he will check Eastern first, or maybe he's just decided this is his best play and he's coming back. Looks like he's just coming back. So Invictus gonna be our first runner to check Helmasaur. If not on Helmasaur, I think he's gonna have to dive into Eastern.
Meanwhile, we have Alucard doing a bit of the flipper checking, PHatHome doing a bit of the fetch quests. When you start to get later into the game and you don't quite have the items that you want, you start looking around and doing just about any option that you have.
Yeah, so often it's going to be a full clear, just a matter of when that full clear is done for you. Unfortunately, Helmasaur just with 5 rupees, so unless Invictus has some spots left to check in the overworld, he needs to go into Eastern Palace here.
Now we
There's
have
only two items we don't know in Eastern, so I can understand everyone's hesitance to go there immediately, but I think we're really getting down to just those 2 chests left to check. Still a lot of Turtle Rock left to explore, but the runners have gone as far as they can in Turtle Rock without the big key.
Yep, that does block off Laser Bridge, which is 4 chests that they could find, say, the Thieves Town Big Key in. But we will need the Turtle Rock Big Key before we can even get there.
Look at that sync between Invictus and Alucard as they go through Eastern Palace in a virtual tie. Just $50 in that big chest. They will go to Armos Knights. And if it's not there, they'll turn in that green pendant immediately.
Yep, now despite the virtual tie that we were seeing on the screen, Invictus does have pod cleared out. Unless I missed it, Alucard has not done the same.
No, he has not killed Helmasaur yet, that's for sure.
So we're going to see a very quick Armos Knights fight that hopefully will give us a clue as to where we're headed next. It's a big key. It's the T-Rock Big Key.
There's the T-Rock Big Key. All the way on Armos Knights. Well, at least it's clear where the seed wants us to go from here.
Well, unless the hospital happens to have the big key to Thieves Town. Then it's telling us to go 2 places.
So we could see some more Divergence. Alucard's got to finish off Pod, though, like you said. Invictus is going to go straight away, turning that green pendant. And then I got to imagine he'll be headed back up to T-Rock.
Just a piece of heart from Sasrala.
So the seed is clear. T-Rock, where we will almost certainly be finding the Thieves Town Big Key. Then the question is just, where's that Ganon's Tower Key going to be?
Yes, even though Invictus has a little bit of a lead in terms of crystal completion, I don't believe he's gone through Turtle Rock yet, so could see some time made up after that. DukeFireBird find the big key to T-Rock, not the big rock to T-Key. That doesn't make any sense.
A lot of locations, a lot of items. Runners aren't the only ones going a little key scene. Unfortunately, just like Invictus has not gone into Turtle Rock, Alucard still has this back part of Pod that he's checking.
Yes, a big rock would open many doors, but probably not any of the doors here. They seem to be pretty well reinforced.
If Link could walk with those big rocks that he picks up, maybe, but I don't think we can really ever put that to the test here. Unfortunately for Duke, he still has not done Skull Woods and does not know that it is a pendant, so that is where he's headed right now.
Alucard has left Pod without completing.
Very strange. Maybe he thinks it's a pendant. Either through guesswork, because he hasn't been given all the keys yet. Sometimes you can try to metagame the seed based on how many keys to how many different dungeons it's given you. Or it's possible he's mismarked it as a pendant. Or it's possible he doesn't want to take the time to go to Helmasaur, since he has to mirror to the entrance anyway, that he'll go to T-Rock, where he knows it's a crystal first.
That does bring up a point that the tracking that we are seeing here on this stream, it is not the tracking that the runners themselves are using. They are using whatever method they prefer, and they are in control of it. So it is possible to troll yourself and make a little mistake on your own tracking.
And certainly, if you are not really used to Keysanity tracking, that's not something you really have to worry about too much in an open seed. You know the crystals and you know the pendants very early when playing non-Keysanity modes.
DukeFireBird picking up the red pendant, possibly with a hint of disappointment to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he doesn't know it, but that was a nice advantage he'd had not having done that like everyone else immediately. Though it doesn't take that much time either to go clear it out. And it'll give him a little bit more information on what he actually has to go do now, so...
Yeah, we just have Invictus and Alucard making their respective runs through Turtle Rock. DukeFireBird on his way as well. PHatHome lacking that Hera big key might be feeling a little lost.
Yeah, he's got to locate that pretty quickly. That is a huge roadblock for him right now, because there's not much he can do. I don't think there's anything he can do actually without picking that up.
And if nothing else, that is a crystal. That is a boss he'll have to clear.
His opponent, DukeFireBird, has cleared everything except for Turtle Rock, where we assume we're going to see the Thieves Town big key. And then Thieves Town. Everything else he has crossed off his list.
And there's the Thieves Town big key.
Big key in the big chest. That leaves just one more item for our runners to locate.
There's still plenty of time in T-Rock to find that big key. Unfortunately, that's the small key to Ganon's Tower, which is not the size that we're looking for.
I think that's the first small key to Ganon's Tower we've found so far, though, strangely enough.
True, and I believe the runners only need one in order to complete Ganon's Tower.
Only need one, and even if you have none going into the tower, it's very easy to just pick one up under the pot on the left side, so even if somehow you found none, you could still complete Ganon's Tower just by entering Ganon's Tower. Here's our first look at Laser Bridge. Let's see if we get the Ganon's Tower key here.
Alucard gonna play it a little safe, using the cane.
Makes sense with that half magic.
That's, I believe, the last pod small key.
Yeah, that is key number 6, and no Ganon's Tower key, so either Trinex has it, or it is locked away in Thieves, or Ganon's hoarding it himself.
Yes, after this, Alucard certainly will be comfortable finishing up pod, having all the keys. No chance of anything going amiss there. And with Butter Sword and Half Magic, very little chance of anything going amiss on Trinex.
Our runners feel good with these boss fights today. These are always satisfyingly quick. Heck, the longest boss fight of the entire seed might be when we see Blind in a few minutes.
That is true. We are an hour 47 into this race, and we've been spared some terrible puns.
Can only be spared for so long.
And that's Invictus wrapping up the Trinex fight as well.
PHatHome, unfortunately, in T-Rock, going to pick up that Thieves big key, and it's going to lead him to Thieves, and that's probably where his progression is going to end. He still has not found that Tower of Hera big key. And there's really no chance of him finding it until he's done with this dungeon and the next dungeon.
Yep.
Alucard, the first of our runners to enter Thieves here, looking for that Ganon's Tower key. Then he'll go back to Pod and finish off that dungeon.
And with Alucard and Invictus having basically the same route ahead of them, it's going to start coming down to execution for the both of them.
Execution and that trip that Alucard's going to have to make back into Pod. But it's a very close race, certainly too close to call at this point between the two of them, and we'll see if PHatHome can get himself back into it. The sooner he gets over that waterfall and finds the Hera big key, the better.
If I'm remembering correctly, PHatHome did do fake flippers early on. That's one thing that the majority of our runners did. Might be throwing him for a little bit of a loop in terms of what spots he did and didn't check.
Especially with the amount of time everybody had to put into clearing the first couple spheres of items in this one with that Trolley Moon Pearl location. The amount of time you spend in those areas can make you feel sometimes like you've already done it all. You don't need to go back for anything. Not to mention the added pressure of, you know, playing in a tournament race and being watched by hundreds of eyes on speed gaming.
Yeah, I've spoken with other racers who have already done their rounds during this tournament, and that's basically the first thing that always comes up is the sheer pressure that you're facing as a runner.
Especially the first round. I mean, everybody likes to get off to a good start and then settle into the tournament the longer it goes. That first round is a little bit more nerve-wracking, I imagine.
Just finding small keys for Ganon's tower.
Two shots left at it here. The big chest and the big boss.
And the big 50, so it's blind or nothing. This could very well be a moment where Invictus and Alucard, they're in go mode and they don't even realize it yet. Zipline has it. But blind taunting us a little bit doesn't see us having a bright future. But I think Alucard doesn't see blind having much of a future at all.
Blind, the only boss fight where that butter sword's not going to make much of a difference. We've seen some quick ones. This is just the vanilla blind fight here. Will he have the Ganon's Tower big key?
No! No, he does not.
We are going to have to search the tower, which means this bottom race could come down to left side, right side. That is usually not something you can say about Keysanity. Alucard still may be holding out hope that it could be on Helmasaur. That will be his next stop.
Yeah, but our chat is already getting in the guesses for how many chests into Ganon's tower it takes before we find it.
Let's just put it on the torch, get it out of the way quickly. We could also set ourselves up for, there's not too many Ganon's Tower double dip options, but we have a lot of chests left in Desert. So if we find any Desert keys, big key or small key in Ganon's Tower, that could be where the Ganon's Tower key is.
Yep, and Invictus doing a little bit of fetch quest, trying to avoid dipping into Ganon's tower without the key.
Yeah, two schools of thought on this for sure. If you're this late and there's only one or two locations left before Ganon's tower, you might as well get them out of the way and save yourself the potential search for it. Other people will just decide to gamble and say, I'm going to go up there and check it no matter what. If you've got a lot of locations left, that sort of makes more sense. But we know all of these runners have pretty much done everything except for a handful of things. You see Alucard doing his handful of things now, clearing out the rest of the items in pod, but neither of them are going to have any luck till they get up to the tower. This is actually good for Alucard that Invictus still has a couple things left to clear, though, because it means that he's not losing any time just yet having to do this last dip into pod.
Interesting choice of weapon for that little sneak shot on the crystal on Alucard's side. Often you just see people using the bow, but the cane works.
The cane works. It saves you a menu because you're going to use the cane in that room. Usually you want to put it down in front of the chest. He was having a little trouble lining it up to the side of the chest. But if you put it down right in front of the chest, that's usually where it works.
Yeah, all this overworld hunting on Invictus's part, giving Alucard a little bit of catch-up space as PHatHome takes on the blind fight.
Yes, so a lot of people may be wondering, well, why doesn't Invictus just jump into Ganon's tower? There's so many chests there. That's likely where it's going to be. When you've done so much of the game, and then you have the choice, finish off 1 or 2 spots or go to Ganon's tower, it almost feels like if you don't finish off those 1 or 2 spots, well, what the heck did I check all the other spots for? So a lot of times the runners just are really trying to avoid catastrophe. They'll clear out those last few spots and then go to Ganon's tower. Now, if they've got 20 spots to check, you'll often see them just go straight to Ganon's tower then, because there's too many spots for them to check quickly.
Yep, and it's the flip side of making that gamble to go straight in. If you're right and Ganon's tower key is in Ganon's tower, well, it paid off. If not, you checked a lot of chests for nothing. And that's a lot more wasted time than just dipping into 1 or 2.
And yeah, it looks like they're going to be about a minute separating them. Basically a Death Mountain ascension separating them if Alucard goes straight up to Ganon's tower at this point.
Yep, and DukeFireBird is also through with the crystals. And PHatHome just found the Hera key.
Gotta feel good, but also a little bad that it took that long. That's definitely a spot he's had available for a long time. Nice to see the progression, but it's never a good feeling when you could have had it over an hour ago.
So yeah, PHatHome is going to go take care of Hera next. Invictus, Alucard, right one after another. It's very tight.
Invictus entering Ganon's tower at 158.11. We'll see how far behind Alucard is.
Alucard is taking a quick detour.
Oh.
Interesting choice.
He must have found something that he forgot to check and wants to do that before Ganon's tower, but I don't know what that is. Maybe he didn't turn in the green pendant?
I'm thinking that's the case. Invictus, meanwhile, finds the shovel as he starts off on the right side. If that's a big key is buried...
Talk about a troll. Invictus is going to start off with Tile Room here. This is another thing that could give Alucard some extra time to catch back up. If the Ganon's Tower key is in Ganon's Tower, this is not the room you want to be doing first, of course, unless it's here.
Yep, this is one of the trollier rooms in the basement, so there's a certain logic to just getting it out of the way, and if it decides to be mean, well, you are mean right back. But nope, 5 rupees. Just mean.
So it's worth mentioning, with Invictus going right side first, most runners, I've noticed, will go full left in Keysanity when missing the Ganon's Tower key. So we'll see if Alucard decides to do that, and actually Invictus having a little trouble getting these torches on this right side. He's going to have to wait another cycle. This is all potentially allowing Alucard to catch back up, despite being a couple minutes behind just a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, that left side, right side play, it's equal parts gamble and personal preference. And with 2 small keys already, you can get a little ways into the left side. That does require more small keys.
Alucard's going to go right side, though. Let's see if he does tile room. I'd be surprised if he does tile room first.
Ooh, that's the desert small key.
Oh, no. Not what the runners were looking for.
It's the Ganon's Tower big key!
And then the Ganon's Tower key right there on the right side. So, good call, both of our runners going right side first.
Yep, and Invictus is go.
He's going to have about a 60-second lead on Alucard. It is all execution from here.
Meanwhile, DukeFireBird up on the top race is just making his way into Ganon's Tower. We'll see which side he decides to hit up first.
Yeah, and PHatHome, despite taking so long to find that Hera key, is behind, but not as far behind as you might expect. He's got to finish off Helm's Sword, and then he'll be up. He's a good 2-3 minutes behind, but he has caught up on Duke. Duke having to clear out a lot of the overworld. I think PHatHome's still got some things left to check that he's probably at this point just going to skip over since he knows he's so far behind.
Yep, meanwhile, DukeFireBird going down to the right side, just grab the shovel. Hopefully he keeps up on that path.
Invictus a little beat up headed into the gauntlet here. That you can take some hits here in a couple of these rooms, especially the BMOs. Gotta be a little careful.
Yep, even with Buttersword and Red Mail, it's not exactly the easiest part of the game.
He's down to 2.5 hearts. Needs to be very careful not get BMO'd in this room or the next one.
Ooh, good thing he has that red goo.
Still has that red potion from Catfish, I believe, so putting that to some great use. Do not want to take a death there anytime, especially in a race this close.
Of course, we do get to see a Lamulus fight after all, even though we never got all the way through desert.
Yeah, first Landmo sighting of the day.
DukeFireBird is mere moments from finding that Ganon's Tower big key and heading into go mode. Meanwhile, PHatHome gets his final crystal. Invictus making some smooth execution on those whiz ropes. Getting a little penned in.
Definitely doing well here in Ganon's Tower for Invictus. When you're in Ganon's Tower and there have been no dot-duns, you know, it doesn't matter if you feel like you're behind or you could be winning. There's even more pressure than there normally is. PHatHome on his way up to Ganon's Tower finally. Hopefully we make it 4 for 4 runners going right side first here.
Yeah, but like you said, that left side play can be pretty common among runners. So, a 4 for 4 on the right side would be very good luck for this crew.
I definitely would go left side first, so this would not be the seat I want to play in.
Invictus finishing off Moldorm, about to hit the ultimate chest. And the ultimate reward, an arrow cap.
Fortunately, not going to find any more arrows on his way to Ganon, but hey, points for completionism.
Alucard getting a little tripped up by the spikes. Gonna pop that fairy and that rabbit beam. As Invictus goes into our Aga fight.
Getting a little unlucky on these first few cycles for Invictus.
Ooh, but makes it up with that. That's maybe a double, might be a triple.
Ooh, looks like it was only a double that one before. He's got one hit left, though. He can get in on this one.
Yep, and there we go. So time for Invictus to play the plot flute and fight Ganon.
We are just one Aga fight separating our two runners here. Butter Sword, Silvers on Ganon. Shouldn't be too much room to make up any time just on execution. If Invictus plays this safe, he should.
Yeah, there's playing it safe and trying to not get trolled by Ganon. You can get bumped off the ledge.
You can definitely
easily.
make it a little harder on yourself playing it too safe, that's for sure. He wants to play it just safe enough.
But of course, Invictus has no idea Alucard is right on his tail.
Actually, he got 2 cycles of that first phase. That cost him a little bit of time there.
And Invictus starting to drop the tiles. That's 3, Ganon being very cooperative when it comes to phasing in and out of existence. And it's on to the final phase for Invictus. That's 1 hit. 2 hits for Invictus.
Ganon not giving him any double opportunities, but one more is going to do it.
And that does it!
Invictus going to take this race, very close race, the whole way through, really. This was never separated by very much time. And there it is, Invictus taking first place, an official SRL time of 2:08:18. Alucard going to be right behind him. Great race from those 2 runners. Meanwhile, DukeFireBird finishing up Aga on the top. PHatHome did not go right side. He's going to do a full clear of Ganon's tower, unfortunately.
Ooh, that's painful.
And finds the wrong big key on top of it all.
And gives a little frustration bonk. So yes, Invictus with a time of 2 hours, 8 minutes, 18 seconds. Alucard with a time of 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 46 seconds. A 28-second difference for our 2 runners.
Definitely one of the closest matches of this round that I've seen so far.
And so we'll give them both a moment to catch their breath, and then we'll bring them in for interviews.
PHatHome finding the bad news that the left side is not where the big key was.
Yeah, we'll see if he decides to clear out the right side or take a false lead on desert. Looks like he's going to take care of the right side.
Duke is finishing off Ganon. He's got that last arrow. He'll be walking through the door, taking the win in his match. Another race that was very close the entire time.
Far behind people because of the same exact thing, so.
And yes, with us we have Invictus and Alucard from the bottom race on the stream. Gentlemen, incredibly close run. Very good work.
Thank you very kindly.
Yeah, GG, man. That was some sort of seed.
I thought for sure when I was triple dipping and quadruple dipping, man, I was done for, but that was a lot of fun. I gotta give you credit. That was awesome seed, dude. Well done.
Yeah, that was a seed that ended up requiring a lot of those double and triple dips. Was for either of you, was there a point where you felt like you had just lost it?
You mean the whole thing? I mean,
Or maybe just lost your marbles.
the marbles was throughout most of the thing. I don't know about you, Alu, but there was a couple of times when I was diving into Pod a couple of times where I'm just like, I feel like this is the 5th time I've been in here.
Yeah, Pod was not fun to try to determine key usage and such, but I think it ended up working out fine for me. It was just like a forced double dip at the very least because of the Mitts location.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually ended up going in there and grabbing Mitts fairly early, but I feel like it was almost like a non-required sequence break at that point, and I had to double dip or triple dip just to sort of kill boss, and it just took a chance on there not being nothing left there. So
no, it was required. That was the last chest I could possibly check before, like, I didn't know what to do. So it was definitely required.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, looks like we're having a little bit of display issues, but yes, the time difference for you two guys was 28 seconds.
I all credit to Alucard, man. I mean, that was a close run and a lot of fun.
Oh, you got to give some credit to yourself. Sounds like we both ran a pretty tight race.
You guys were close, not just at the end. When you both had 2 or 3 dungeons left, you had some sync happening even then. I mean, there weren't a lot of ways. We had all 4 of the runners really close the whole time because the way the seed really made you route it was pretty much linear. You know, last possible spot for everybody for the Moon Pearl, pretty much. Last possible spot practically for the Fire Rod for everyone, pretty much, and certainly last possible spot almost for the big. I think everybody pretty much full cleared the game before Ganon's Tower, so they knew the big key was going to be in there or something in there was going to lead to it. But you guys were so close for really the last 25% of the race, and I don't think anybody ever really pulled any kind of lead more than a couple minutes at any point.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
That sounds amazing. Sounds like it was really entertaining to watch. I'm glad we were able to provide that.
Absolutely the closest race of this round that I've seen so far, for sure.
Very cool.
Very
You
cool.
both were doing some very good routing that the seed just wasn't rewarding. You got a lot of items in Mini Moldorm Cave, and then the seed was basically like, we're not going to give any more items the rest of the time. We're going to make these guys sweat it out.
Trust me, there was a lot of sweating.
On the plus side, you had Tempered Sword at about the 7-minute mark, and you had Butter Sword at about the 30-minute mark. So the boss fights, when you actually could get to some bosses, all went pretty smoothly. So that's about the only nice thing the seed did for you guys.
Which, yeah, I guess that is you could call it a boon, but sometimes you think, I would rather be fighting this Master Sword if it would just give me some sort of direction, please, anything.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted keys. I was like, I really don't want these items. I'll put them back.
Yeah, take the chest back. I'll take the keys. Give me anything.
All right, we're going to bring DukeFireBird in here in just a moment, having won his race with PHatHome. So, Duke, congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much. That was a crazy seed.
Congrats, Duke. Yeah, very close between you and PHatHome. Very close between Invictus and Alucard. The only difference is PHatHome just never found that Hera big key. So he could never do Hera and he could never finish off Pod. And he was right. All four of you at one point were probably within, a minute of each other. All four of you, and that was at about the 1.5 hour mark. But he finally found that Hera big key, and that kind of released him. But at that point, you'd taken a couple minutes lead. Then in Ganon's Tower, everyone went right side first. PHatHome is the only one who went left side first, so he full cleared Ganon's Tower looking for the big key.
Ouch. Yeah.
Ouch.
But really, great job by you. Everybody was really routing this seed very well. It's just the seed wasn't responding correctly.
I questioned my own routing. Really, I think some of the choices I made were a little bizarre, but
I questioned my double visit to Kakariko.
Actually, there was a point. You guys had asked if there was a point where I felt like I'd lost it. Right at the very start of the run, like just as I was going through Kakariko with Bomb Kid's house, and I saw the key up there, and I accidentally hit Y and called the flute in, and the bird took me away, and I was like, no! That's not what I want!
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Well, I guess something similar-ish happened to me. I got soft-locked in Chicken House.
Oh,
I
no!
saw that!
Oh goodness, that's too funny, Alan.
Yeah, so I had to save and quit and come back. And that was before I got the flute, so I had to walk it.
Oh, hoofing it.
Yeah, this race really just had it all, didn't it? But Alucard, I want to ask you just one question real quick about Pod there at the end, because there was an opportunity when you went back in there with the bow to clear out Helmasaur. But you left and came back later to finish off Helmasaur. What was your thinking in not finishing Helma when you were there the second time?
Basically, in case I needed to come back for that harmless Hellway.
You were just trying to conserve the key. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we thought. There was some speculation maybe you didn't know at the time that was the crystal. You were trying to save yourself Helmasaur at that point.
I knew exactly that it was the crystal, but I wanted to make sure, nothing bad would happen.
No, that makes sense, especially with the warnings that have been going out. But
Exactly.
yeah, just wanted to clarify that, because that really just that last dip. In fact, I think both of you triple dipped Pod.
Mhm.
So I guess in the end, that really didn't make the difference, because you probably spent about the same amount of time in Pod as each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. I effectively triple dipped because I was a little scared, because I'm like, okay, I'm one key short. If I fight Helmasaur, but I need that top key, but then I didn't realize it's like, wait, it's a crystal dungeon. There's no way you can be in Ganon's Tower, and I had every item available. I just didn't realize it at the point.
I think everybody triple dipped Pod. The first dip with Pod is kind of a mean one to make you. I think Duke. I think you were the only one who had the big key when you dipped Pod the first time of the runners, but
Wow.
you guys,
Yeah.
everybody pretty much full cleared everything outside of Pod before going into it, just because we all know Pod can be the make it or break it moment for a Keysanity run.
And I will like to point out that PHatHome has just completed his run with an SRL time of 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 1 second after very high quality Aghanim and Ganon fights, getting a double triple on Aghanim and clearing out a triple shot on Ganon. So very solid play at that
Nice.
last moment.
Excellent.
Yeah, between that butter sword Furby, we saw some pretty good execution all the way through, especially in GT, and gotta feel good for PHatHome to finish at least kind of strong. He knew he knew obviously at that point it was done, but You can take your frustrations out on the big pig. Feels good.
Yeah, I was asking my chat before you guys pulled me in because I was looking at the trackers. It's like, where the heck did everybody find desert keys? Apparently they were all in GT.
Yeah, the big key for desert was on the left side. PHatHome picked that up, and the small key, I think, was on the right side there.
That was the one chest I didn't pick up.
Yes, correct.
Curiosity gets the best of me.
I was like, big key, done.
Well, when you guys picked up that shovel as the first item in Ganon's Tower, that's what I was thinking. Oh, we gotta go.
Oh, that made me cringe.
Yeah.
I was like, I literally was like, oh no.
Duke, you and I had the same moment. It was just like, oh, dude, this seed, you would do that, wouldn't you? Thank you.
Especially to give it to you as the first item, then it's gonna make you clear the entire tower, and then you're gonna go to the dig spot and find it.
And then dig up a desert big key or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess everything was in G Tower.
Yeah. I hate to say it, I should have went with my gut when I was going through, even though I won my race, but I could have I think I might have been able to beat you, Invictus, because I forgot to do the below the bridge in Skull. And so, but I completed Moth. I completed Moth, and then I went straight to T-Rock. And I was like, oh no, I forgot the underside. So I went and did Thieves, and then I went and checked the bridge.
Yeah, that's a decent time loss. You probably would have.
Yeah, I was on my way up the mountain to Ganon's Tower, and then I was like, oh man, I didn't check Sahasrahla. This could save me a bunch of time if it is the big key. So I went back and I checked it, and then I went back up.
Yeah, I just had a little bit of love for you.
Yep.
All right, and we have PHatHome in the chat with us as well. PHatHome, GG, and an excellent finish on that.
GG, PHatHome.
I don't think we have PHatHome's voice yet. I think he's seems to be typing something. He might have audio issues.
Technical difficulties.
There we go.
Oh,
There we go.
GG, PHatHome.
Oh,
Well
GG's.
played, man.
GG.
It was an extremely close race the entire way through. It was just that hierarchy that got you in the end.
Yeah. How many times did I try and go through a big key door without the actual big key?
A couple,
I counted at least 3 times.
just a couple times. It can be one of those things. You want to have it so bad, so.
Going into GT, I was like, oh, I'm good. I have enough small keys, and just like, wait, I'm missing one.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, unfortunately, of the 4 runners, you were the only one to do the left side in Ganon's Tower, so that was the majority of the time difference right there.
Oh yeah.
I was personally getting a little scared nearing the end. I was like, okay, wait, I haven't picked up a single tower key. This is getting scary.
It was very weird to get the first small key for Ganon's Tower in, past the big key door in Turtle Rock, I think was where the first one was. That's kind of the opposite of how you usually find them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to finding at least one Ganon small key, somewhere in like first 12 chests or something like that.
Yeah. At least in the first half hour.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, I guess I'll pose this question to everybody. We saw a lot of items really quickly in this seed, but the game still made you search basically everywhere before you got access to Dark World. What were you guys thinking with all those items really early, getting 4 items out of Mini Moldorm Cave, but then just no Dark World access for another 20 minutes?
I know that, at least for me, I kind of routed weird, I feel like, at the very start, like not my typical. And so I was thinking that, man, if I just followed my normal route, I probably would have found Moon Pearl in some normal location, and then it just kept not showing up. And I'm thinking, well, where is this thing? Am I going to have to do Zora farming here for this? Like, I was starting to wonder, is this going to be like a Zora seed, or is it going to be on Pyramid or something? But eventually the trail led to up in Castle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they-
even went for the first chest before, like very early, to try to gamble on it, and
So did I.
didn't work out. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of you did that. We were shocked that the Moon Pearl at least wasn't on East Death Mountain. East Death Mountain had nothing when you guys finally got up there.
Yep.
Yeah. Somehow I actually was having a feeling the moment East Death Mountain went dry, I was like, it had to have been Aga Tower.
Well, there was a lamp over there, which gave people, I think, the confidence to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Agatower play.
I was just
Yeah, it was-
looking for that second castle key just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did anybody find that?
Don't know.
I don't think so.
No.
What spot didn't we check?
Probably buried in desert.
Land almost has it.
Oh yeah, it probably was in desert.
Yeah.
Or even upper Ganon Tower, maybe.
Possible.
Yeah, I decided not to check
Yeah,
Or like
I
the
didn't
big
check any
chest.
chests either.
up there.
Oh yeah, GT big chest. Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, shovel.
Yep, shovel. I just saw that in chat.
Oh, when I got the shovel and desert big key in GT, I was like, wait, it better not have me double dip. Just get the Ganon's Tower key in desert.
Yeah, we got
Or
very
the spot.
excited with that early shovel in GT because we were already obviously, first off, chat is sadistic and the commentators are going to be sadistic.
Oh yeah.
So the way up,
Love you, chat.
you
Thank
guys
you.
were all so close to each other. So obviously we just start speculating. All right, what are all the possible double dips we could see here? Well, we could, get all the desert keys because we don't have any of the desert keys. Honestly, at that point, I'm expecting it to be somewhere in desert. But then you pull the shovel out as the first item, and I'm saying, oh, it's definitely going to be a double dip now. Thankfully, you guys were spared that indignity, and it was just on the right side.
I like how I tried to go into ice without the flippers or a fire source or bombos. I was like,
Oops.
Yeah, we
oops.
can see
And-
your
got
momentary
it.
frustration.
And then I got them almost immediately after. I was like, okay, thanks.
Yeah. Ironically, after I got the mitts, I was like, okay, I'm gonna check East Dark Death Mountain, and if nothing fruitions, I'm just gonna go ahead and fake Flipper in the ice, and then hey, flippers and bombos.
Yeah.
Actually, no, what? I take that back. I couldn't have. I was like, okay, wait. If I find bombos, I'm gonna go ahead and fake Flipper. And then I found flippers right after that, and I'm like,
How satisfying was it for you guys to finally get into our first dungeon there?
Oh yeah, what was it? I think like 40 or 50 minutes before we saw any crystals at all.
yeah,
Oh, what was my
that
first?
was
I
crazy.
think Alucard was the first on the stream to get a crystal or a pendant at about the 45-minute mark, and I think most of the others weren't coming until we were closer to the 60-minute mark.
That's
I
only
know
because I
mine-
sequence broke to get the Hera big key, so it was pretty free.
Yeah, that gave you
Yeah.
that definitely gave you a little edge early on, was that sequence break to get that key, because otherwise it was a little convoluted what it was expecting you to do.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing.
Yeah, also the fake powder, which almost came into a huge play. Doing the fake powder for an extra pod key, we were very curious if that was going to make a difference when everybody was making their first dip into pod. And it could have if pod had been a little more cooperative, but
Yeah,
that was a very nice play to do that, especially to get an item that can be as advantageous as an extra pod key can be.
Yep.
who all did the fake powder besides me?
You were the only one. Everyone
I
else
was
turned
the
into
only
mushroom.
one.
Everyone
Wow.
else turned into
Yeah,
mushroom
We're
really
running
fast.
out of
Yeah.
places
Because of the
for
flute,
moon
everyone
keys.
got mushroom.
Yeah, early on I
I-
used my
yeah.
mushroom just because
Yeah,
I was running
if
out
I
of
get that
early.
mushroom early, I hang on to that thing. I'm like, not turning this in until there's nothing left, because I'm like, because usually my experience has been bat has something. If I find Samaria but I can't find powder, bat usually will have something good. And
You were
I consider
also
a
the
pod
only-
key good.
You were also the only runner to skip the Hera basement after getting the lamp on East Death Mountain, which gave you a little bit of a leg up also early on.
Never skip that basement ever. It's always gonna have something.
Except today.
Yeah.
Personal
Yeah,
experience.
mail upgrade, that wasn't bad.
Yeah, I was pleased with the mail upgrade.
Nah, quite honestly, the only reason I skipped it, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna come back down there, and it's a time sink for one item. Lamp just gave me a thing, and I was convinced that Castle Tower had it, and lo and behold, Moonburl. So.
Yep, ended up being the right play. So I think that that about is gonna wrap it up. GG's to the four of you. You guys put on a great show. This was such a close race, really from start to finish. Really awesome job. High quality play out of everybody too. And
Absolutely. GG's, well played all around.
Absolutely. And just a quick thank you to both Bwayne, it's like Bwayne, right? Not Bwane? Bwayne and Hipfen for announcing.
You got it. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you guys for commentating, and
Yep.
shout outs to Invictus. Happy birthday, man.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Happy
birthday.
Birthday!
Dude.
That's something we should have known from the start.
Well, consider it an executive decision on my part to not share. I had enough pressure on me as it was. So.
Okay, we're gonna remember this for next year's Keysanity.
Oh yeah, all right.
Well, hey, a 28-second win in your first match is quite the birthday present to receive.
Yes, indeed. Can't ask for better.
So yes, we'd like to thank Invictus and Alucard and DukeFireBird and PHatHome for participating, and congratulations to Duke and Invictus on the wins. And also a thanks to the Lanny and Dragon Master for doing our tracking this evening. Currently we have a race between Filion and Fant, along with Fentalis and Cross Product happening over at Speed Gaming. And then we have a number of races tomorrow at Speed Gaming and 234. So you can see the schedules. Actually, I'm not sure if we have the link in chat for that, but you follow all these Speed Gaming channels, you'll certainly see them over the weekend and over the coming weeks.
Thanks very much, guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, take care.
Yep.
Thank you all for watching.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for the commentary, tracking, restream, and viewing. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
GG's all.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Night all.